Stimulus negotiations apparently could be going in a slightly different direction than they are right now. We're finding out with some behind the scenes information about what, at least in theory, Donald Trump wants during these negotiations. Now, take this with a grain of salt because nobody really knows from 1 minute to another what Trump wants, including Trump. But supposedly, according to the Washington Post, White House aides intervened yesterday to prevent President Trump from issuing a statement calling for substantially larger stimulus payments for millions of Americans. This is according to two different people who spoke on condition of anonymity to share details of the private exchange. On a phone call, Trump told allies that he believes stimulus payments in the next relief package should be at least $1,200 per person, which is what they were the first time around, and possibly as big as $2,000 per person. Congressional leadership is preparing a stimulus package that would provide checks of $600 per person. So apparently he was in the middle of formally drafting his demand, which I think means he had a draft tweet ready to go. I think that's what the formal means. But anyway, they told him, White House officials told him that it could imperil delicate negotiations over the economic relief package. Now, what does that mean in practice? Well, it means that they want the bill to be less than $1 trillion, congressional Republicans. If we gave more money, it would be bigger. So it would imperil the negotiations in terms of they don't want to spend the money, and this would be asking them to spend the money. So it's a weird sort of PR move to be like, oh, it's imperiling a delicate thing. No, they just don't want to do it. They don't want to do it, and he would be advocating to do it. Anyway, Brett, I have several thoughts about this, but what do you think about the fact that supposedly behind the scenes Trump is pushing for significantly larger payments?
I think, he's the canary in the coal mine in terms of what people probably like at a very base level, right? He's in tune with that. He's singing, chirping, or the canary dies, right? But like, I forget, but whatever it is, he's signaling. People like direct checks. The thing that people do, the way they would respond is to say thank you. That is fantastic. Trump knows the value of stuff like that. He is the person who stopped all of the original relief checks so he could put his name on them. Why? Because they're popular. And here is what happens. I'm really in that position where I can't tell what's the most insulting thing about it. Is it that people on the right in Congress are telling everyone in the media, listen, people essentially don't want/need these checks? That is an insult to everyone's intelligence because people want/need them, right?
Yeah.
Is that more insulting than the so-called centrist Democrats who are on this stupid bipartisan commission who, yes, are getting closer to a deal, but they think it's an awesome deal to have a $900 billion deal, most of which, a large portion of which is old money. It's not new spending. That's insane. So they're thinking, is it more insulting that they think this is a good deal? That $600 is 15 days of minimum wage.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you only had to wait 275 days since the last time they did anything. Yeah. No. The Dems are clearly like, other than the few that are pushing for bigger checks and the ones who pushed enough that we're getting checks at all, are like effectively they're the worst people here. Not because their position is the worst, but because they're like effectively if we're gonna have the bad guys, then we need to have people counterbalancing it, and they're effectively they're too ready to sign on to the corporate liability shield, smaller payments, no money to states and localities, that sort of thing. The thing about this is, if Trump actually wants this, then I say let's make a big deal out of this. Let's talk about it a lot. Progressives should push it because theoretically, if Trump does call for it, then that does put a lot of pressure on Republicans to do that. Now, that is assuming that he actually wants it, which I don't think we can necessarily assume. It's very easy to leak a story about how Trump was pushing for bigger checks that they don't then have to send, which makes Trump look good, sort of, but they don't have to actually pay for it. So that's one possibility. The other is that he actually does mean it, because Trump, at the end of the day, other than some of his predilections towards things like authoritarianism and misogyny, he doesn't really have much of an ideology. So he could flip to all of a sudden thinking that direct payments are a good thing, particularly because he would again be able to say that they're his sort of, and it's not his money. So on the way out, why not send checks to everybody and say that that's his legacy, that he did that? And honestly, even if it is that, even if it's that sort of cynical use of our tax dollars, people do need it. So I'm okay with that. If that gets him out the door and gets the checks to people, then I would sign on to that.
You're saying essentially whatever is politically necessary to get the necessary support and relief, we should do.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And it's crazy. But the other feeling that I have is like, oh, it's back. It's back. All of the old BS, all the like, hi, I'm a Republican. I'm going to give tons and tons of handouts to corporations, which imperil the deficit. And then I'm also going to say, listen, I can't, I'd love to, but the deficit. Meanwhile, under their Republican full control of Congress, they passed a tax bill and engaged in all kinds of behavior that made the deficit, their precious deficit, skyrocket.
Yeah.
It just, you say that Trump has no ideology, neither do they. Neither do establishment Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly true, and we're definitely getting ready for that turn. That's going to be fun, and it's going to be assisted by the media, who's all of a sudden going to take it very seriously. But let me dial back just a little bit of the potential hypothetical future praise for Donald Trump by giving you a little bit of what he told Fox News last Sunday. So he said, right now, I want to see checks for more money than they're talking about going to people. I'm pushing it very hard. And to be honest with you, if the Democrats really wanted to do the deal, they do the deal. So, okay, that's maddening because that is what he said to Fox on Sunday. So look, if he was saying that today, that would be dishonest because it would be implying that the Dems are the ones that are blocking that, which isn't 100% true. But at least now there are checks on the table. They're not the bigger checks that he's talking about, that he in that quote is saying the Dems are against when they're not in the deal now. But he was saying that on Sunday when we weren't even sure that there'd be any checks. So he's saying he wants bigger checks, but the Dems are blocking a deal that doesn't include those checks because the Republicans don't want them.
So you're giving too much credit for Trump, who essentially at any given time is saying like, yes, I want checks. And then they are like, don't do that. And he's like, no, I want it. Don't tell me what I can't do. And then he looks at another story on Fox News and they're saying that the Supreme Court is against him and he's gonna lose. And he's like, ugh, I'm mad at that now. I don't care, whatever, never mind. I gotta focus on tweeting about how rigged the election was. Like, I think that's closer to what's probably happening. He's not sitting down and hammering out like a wide strategy on things. Sure. They know by now how to gauge, like, is he in a good mood or a bad mood? When can I swoop to get him to stop doing A, B, or C? Like, I think that's more in line with what's probably happening.
Maybe. And he throws things out. So God only knows what his position will be on this a little bit later on. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.